Oh, yeah, look, here we go. Get some action here. Oh. It says we're live.
We're live.
It says we're live.
Can anybody see us? Hit the chat. I see us on my phone, so I think we're good to go. I'm going to do some intros here. Welcome to my channel for my first ever live stream. It's a big live stream. It's Valentine's Day. It's coming up very quick. And we're going to discuss the 2001 slasher film, Valentine, directed by Jamie Blanks. But first, we're going to do some intros, go through what we watched this week, have some fun. We're having some beverages here. First, I want to introduce my special guest here. It took a lot for me to get him here. We're good friends. We hang out a lot, but he told me to talk to his agent. So after a lot of money changed hands, a lot of beer changed hands, finally he agreed to do it. We've been planning this for 3 months now. And finally he said yes. So I want to introduce Dale_A from the Bat and Spider podcast. Dale, welcome.
Brian, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm very flattered that you would have me on for this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Well, thank you for agreeing to do this after a long, arduous negotiations. But I understand. It's show business, baby. I know I know how it is.
Well, there's a lot of legal teams behind this, you know.
Well, you got to
the moneymaker.
plan it out. Dale is on a podcast called Bat and Spider with his cohort Chuck. They're awesome. Check them out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please subscribe to their podcast and leave a 5-star review because they deserve it. Damn it, they deserve it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
They had an episode. They drop an episode every Thursday morning, correct?
Yeah, every Thursday morning we put out an episode, and basically we try to find movies that are great, and they're great for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Like Chuck and I, we started the show because of our mutual love of like just horror slasher movies and stuff like that. But we determined with Bat and Spider to just go a little bit deeper. Maybe movies that we've definitely not heard of or ever seen, and we're kind of on this journey of finding these movies that have a reputation for being amazing, maybe for not all the right reasons. You know what I mean?
For not what people would typically think of as amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe
right.
these little forgotten gems that came and went, and maybe got a small release and went off to VHS land. You know,
that's exactly right.
In the corner of the video store in the back, you might find a copy of those kind of movies.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I know we have a movie night once a month. We try to, and we watch a variety of horror films. But I've partaken in some of the films that you guys cover.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to watch those kind of films because they're fun in their own right, and you can't take them too seriously. You just watch them for what they are and have a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And for the most part, you know, it might not be the best, but you got to find the diamond in the rough. You got to find the reason to love, and it's there.
Absolutely. You never know. One might actually blow past your expectations. It might not look like it's going to be that good, but you end up really, really liking it and connecting with it. So
yeah, that's right.
You never know. And I know I've borrowed a few off of Dale that I've never seen, and I've enjoyed a good portion of them.
I remember the first time we got together, I made you watch. My first movie before the show was Cruel Jaws.
Jaws 5.
Jaws 5.
Yes.
Yeah, and you were probably like, "What in the F is going on?"
I had a blast with it though because the footage they tore right out of Jaws and Jaws 2, they blatantly cut it out of that film and put it in their film.
Yeah.
I know they went to court over it too, but we're sitting there watching like, that's from Jaws. That's from Jaws 2. How could they do that?
Yeah. How was it possible? But
doing a little research, they ended up going to court over it. They got sued for it.
Yep.
And then the guy that's in it looks like Hulk Hogan's smaller brother. And then we found out he was his body double in some of the movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty cool.
WCW, he did a lot of body double work for the Hulkster.
The Hulkster, that was awesome. Just learning that was great because I never would even watch that movie. I never even heard of it until I came over that night and you put it on. We went through that journey. Yes, that cinematic journey.
Yeah, that's right.
What did you watch this week? You watch anything of note? Besides the one, you could talk about the one you covered on your podcast, but what else did you watch this week?
So it's just a quick. We're getting some people in the chat saying hi, Brian. I just want to point out that Brandon Cablasso, Yoli, Christopher Lawrence, Future Boy, Yoli's out there. Yoli digs your Evil Ed koozie.
They're saying my audio is a little low, man. Does it sound better now?
Yeah, you got to get
holding
that
it way too low. Sorry about that. I will try to do better.
This week, so Brian, I don't if I don't have something to watch for the show, I will go mental just completely flipping through everything because I don't know what to watch. Like there's so much, and I always find reasons to not watch anything. But I watched from 2001, Brian. I watched The Bourne Identity.
Have you ever seen it before?
I have seen it. It's I haven't seen it in probably 10 years, maybe. But I used to watch it a lot when it came out on DVD.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it since. But it's like stars little baby Matt Damon.
I know he looks so young in that movie. Watching it now.
Yeah, if you watch him in that Nike Air.
The trailer
Nike
for
Air,
for the one with Ben Affleck and that. Yeah.
You see Matt Damon, and it's like, wow, little baby Matt Damon. He was like 30. I did a little bit of research. Everybody, he was 30 some years old for Bourne Identity. But man, that movie holds up in some cool ways. Like I just like the feel for what Bourne ultimately was and how he lost his memory. And to think, like, for most of the movie, Chris Cooper and his team, like, they just think Jason is just off the wall. They don't know that he has amnesia. They just think he's just gone rogue and is doing unquestionable things throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and their only goal is to stop him because they think he's off the reservation and they have to put a stop to him before he might uncover them, but also they don't know what he's going to do.
Yes, exactly.
And Yoli, I saw that Matt Damon from Team America.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And Walton Goggins in that movie and has like 2 lines.
Yeah,
movie.
Clive Owen's in it too. He's one of the hitmen,
Yeah.
or one of the Treadstone guys too, that goes after Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the headaches. Too.
Yeah, yeah. You asked him about the headaches when he
Yeah.
kills him in that field. Yeah, I like that movie. I haven't watched it in forever that you brought that up. And then even the sequel, The Bourne Supremacy, was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the third one. I can't remember now. It's been forever since I watched those, but yeah, those are solid action movies.
I like at a certain point in the movie, Chris Cooper is giving Brian Cox like shit in the movie because to Chris Cooper, like, Treadstone is this huge gamble with like human lives that have been turned into super soldiers. And to Brian Cox, it's just like a budget meeting. Like Brian Cox is so above all of it that he just wants to know like what the status is. And then ultimately at the very end of the movie, Brian Cox is like in the DOD Congress room or whatever. And it's basically just like a budget meeting. Yeah. At the end, he's just like, yeah, Treadstone, this is like something that we tried, but it's basically over now. And like he just shoves this stack of folders. And next order of business comes up like after all that.
He closed the book on that, and then it's like, okay, let's go on to this next thing we got going.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter to him at all. He doesn't care.
It's crazy.
It doesn't affect him whatsoever.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah,
yeah. But great movie. It's good. It's good to go back.
Anything else besides that, or was that?
No, that was basically it. I mean, I did watch for some supporters of our podcast, I did watch the original My Bloody Valentine, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
And I know you watched it too this week.
I watched it on Tuesday night. Yeah, I love that one. That's got watched the unrated cut, as one would if you have that cut, and it's great.
Yeah.
The extra gore footage. Yeah, I love that movie. It kind of reminds me of home in a way because it's set in a coal mining town, and I'm from a coal mining town, so kind of brings back memories.
So amazing. Just the feel of that movie. And the feel of like all these people who live and die by the mine, like that's your life, and you work on shift with these people, and you go to the bar on shift.
You leave shift and go right to the bar with the same people you just spent 10 hours a day with, and you're hanging out on the weekends at night. It's they do catch the small town feel. They capture that so well in that film, and it's a great slasher film from the early '80s, but.
And if you don't think since then I've been Googling where to find some Moosehead beer.
Yeah, he told me about this when I got here. He goes, I am going to get my hands on some Moosehead beer. I'm like,
I want it so bad inside my body right now. It's not even funny.
I've never had Moosehead beer.
I don't think I have either.
So I'm going to have to ask you to please save me one and
try
that
I'll save
bad
you one.
boy.
Yeah, don't you worry. What about you?
I watched 3 movies this week that I got to sit down and watch. First, I did a review on my channel the other day, The Phantom of the Opera with Robert Englund from 1989. This was the movie that Robert did it came out 89, the same year Nightmare on Elm Street 5 came out. Nightmare on Elm Street 5 came out in August. This came out in November. Dwight Little, who directed Halloween 4, come off the success of that, got hired to do the film. It's a really cool version of The Phantom of the Opera. It's very violent, as you would expect. Kevin Yeager did the makeup effects on Robert Englund, and some other notable makeup effects artists worked on it. And actually, I found out doing some research that Menachem Golan, who ran Canon with his cousin all those years, when they went bankrupt, he started his 21st Century Films, and he had that script at Canon they planned on making, but they never got around to it before they went bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And he made another movie, and he had all these Victorian sets in Budapest. And he's like, now's the time to make this movie because we have the sets. We don't have to spend any money on those. We just hire a director, get the cast. And he hired Dwight Little. He brought a writer, and they rewrote the script, and off they went to Budapest and shot the film.
Wow, that's the way you do it.
So if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a really cool version of Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is a slasher film, but it's so much more. The sets are beautiful. It's very theatrical. And Robert Englund, it got compared a lot to Freddy, obviously, because at the time Freddy was at its peak of pop culture. If we're not seeing your chat, I'm looking down every now and then. I'm sorry if I missed something, but hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. But he really does give a great performance, and Jill Sholin is the main final girl in that, and she's great. She was coming off The Stepfather, and she would go on to do Popcorn after that. But yeah, it's a really cool film if nobody saw it. But the other one I got to watch, My Bloody Valentine, we already discussed that. And then Wednesday night, I sat down and watched the original Charles Bronson, Death Wish. I really like that film. I've always enjoyed it. And it was just a movie I put on because I was doing some other things, and it was something I could put on that I've seen many times that I didn't have to pay too much attention to.
Yeah.
So that was my week in movies.
What I like about you, Brian, is when I just talked about I am so overwhelmed, I don't know what to put on, so I just watch reruns of 30 Rock when I'm in my downtime. But you'll have your week laid out, and you'll be like, this is the 3 movies that I'm probably going to watch this week. And you might deviate a little bit, but I love how you can pinpoint in your mind what you're going to watch, and it's usually, something that you're coming back around to, like you're revisiting, you haven't watched in a while, but like there are certain times where in your brain you know exactly what it is, and that's what I love about. That's one of the things I love about you.
Well, with Valentine's Day coming up, I wanted to watch
For sure.
Bloody Valentine.
Yeah,
we watched the movie we're going to talk about tonight a couple weeks ago. You just rewatched it again last night.
Yeah, I did.
Because you've never seen
Fact.
it until a couple weeks ago, which I was glad to be able to show you that film because it's a movie I've always enjoyed, but we'll get into it deeper in a couple minutes. But yeah, I want to get My Bloody Valentine because it's that time of the year. But yeah, sometimes depending on the time of year, I already have movies I know I want to watch at that time of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I probably am a little bit. That's all right.
Right. Yeah.
The movie is worth seeing. Yeah, I know, Colasto, you like that movie too. We were talking about that a little bit in Discord about the Phantom of the Opera.
Future Boy Brian asks, what are your thoughts on the renaissance that we're having in regards to physical media? It's amazing the quality and variety we are getting. What is the crown jewel of your collections? That's a good question.
That is a good question. Well, with all the different distributors of physical media now, it is a great time. I mean, look at what Kino Lorber's doing, or Severin. I know you were just talking on your Discord about Severin. There's going to release a bunch of stuff. And then you have Scream Factory, obviously, and some of the great stuff they're doing. Probably some of my favorite stuff is True Romance 4K from Arrow Video. That's a really good 4K, and I love that film. Horror-wise, the Friday 13th box set that Scream Factory put out, I think all those transfers are probably the best the movies I've ever looked up until that point. Now, I know Paramount released a 4K for the original Friday the 13th, and I'm sure we're going to get more as we go along. The Halloween box set that Scream Factory put out, I love that box set. And the Halloween 4Ks that they've gone through. Yeah. I know you have, I think, 1, 2, and 3 on 4K, and I have the first one on 4K. I'm having a hard time justifying repurchasing some of these because I just purchased them, the upgraded Blu-rays, not
a couple years ago. Yeah.
But it's a great time if you're a physical media buff. It really is. What makes me sad is Best Buy keeps scaling back their physical media, and I think they just announced they're going to scale back more. Unfortunately, I mean, we got Amazon. I think somebody was saying on your Discord about Barnes & Noble scale back their physical media too, I think.
Yeah, there was chatter about a couple of the Barnes & Nobles that they've been into. Physical media is basically non-existent.
It's a shame. It really is. Because I remember being able to go to Best Buy, you could spend an hour in there just looking through the movies, and now it's like they have a small rack. So I end up spending most of my time on Amazon looking to see what's available, what the prices are. And I know Rocky's coming out in 4K. I know we're getting a little bit off horror here, but Rocky 4K box set's coming out. I don't know if I'm going to purchase that because I have the Blu-rays, but we'll see. I love those films. But yeah, it's a great time if you're a physical media buff. And me and Dale discussed this before. I got away from physical media for a small point in time when I lived in Massachusetts because it takes up a lot of room. And the wife was like, where are you going to put all these movies? And she had a point.
Yeah.
But now I just rather have the physical copy in hand. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. And I'd rather be able to look at it, feel it in my hand, put it in the player. And plus, on 4K discs are better than streaming anyway. The bit rate's better, and it looks better.
Yeah.
Although HBO has some good transfers on 4K, but the discs are always going to be better. So yeah, I'd rather stick with physical media as long as we can, and hopefully it continues to go and grow. I know they're talking about releasing. I guess Cameron's finally getting around to releasing The Abyss maybe later this year.
Wow, really?
And maybe True Lies is in the pipeline on 4K. I hope that's true.
I hope you're right, Brian.
I saw it on a website that I frequent. And I'm like, I hope that's true. Don't be playing with me. I need True Lies in 4K in my life soon.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's no Blu-ray, right? Is that what?
No, it never got in America. It never got a Blu-ray release. You can get a foreign version, but not an American version.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? It was a huge hit. Why not? Cameron, stop monkeying around with all the CGI stuff and give us some 4K transfers.
Yeah, the before I moved here a couple years ago before I met you, like I went into so much debt collecting DVDs, and 99% of them I never watched. Come here, meet you. And, it's so, like, getting ingrained in the podcast and social media stuff, it's helped. But meeting you and, like, I started buying physical media again. It's like, it makes me sick to know that, like, that happens. But, like, back in the DVD days, I didn't know, and it was probably harder to find out that, like, a boutique label, right? I knew Anchor Bay was a thing, and Anchor Bay
was a big one back
Anchor
then.
Bay was, like, what I would look towards for, like, horror stuff
Yeah,
mostly.
they were in the genre. They were horror-oriented, yeah.
But now it's like there's these cool boutique places that are putting out these releases, and you just want to support them all because they're just like, a skeleton crew, and they're just trying to do their best, but and putting out or scanning and cleaning up these movies that might not be the greatest movies, but the fact that they're taking the time to, like grease their elbows and clean this long forgotten movie out.
Yeah.
Like Vinegar Syndrome and Severin and Dark Force Entertainment and a ton of others.
I know I borrowed some movies off you from Vinegar Syndrome, and the amazing amount of care that's taken with these films that, for all intents and purposes, were forgotten by a large portion of the public or never even knew about by a large portion of folks.
Yeah.
And it's great to know there's people out there that really love film and just want to restore it and give us the best transfer possible and care about the films. And that's an awesome thing, and I hopefully it continues down the line. I think there's enough of us out there buying this stuff that it makes it lucrative enough for them to do it. So,
Kev says, wild to live in a world with an alligator in 4K.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't seen that in 4K yet. I was going to buy it. I haven't picked it up yet. I have the old DVD special edition from way back when. That's a movie I wouldn't mind upgrading, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Well, I know I feel bad because there would be Saturday nights where I'll be at home on the couch with the wife watching a movie, and I'm having a few beers, and I'll see a sale on a movie, and I'll send it to Dale, and he's like, well, put another one on the list that I'm going to be buying.
Yeah, you're like...
to be coming in the mail. I'm like, I got to stop sending you these
yeah.
because I'm going to get you in trouble.
And like smuggling it up my cram hole just to get it up in my bookshelf here right next to me.
Oh, Cablasso just said about buying alligator as well.
Yep. It's been getting cheaper too.
Yeah, sometimes they have it on sale. I saw The Howling on 4K on Amazon was like $15 the other week. I didn't pull the trigger because I have the Blu-ray that was remastered and it looks pretty good. I have to be more selective because the wife's going to kill me if packages keep coming to the house.
Yeah, sure. Sure, absolutely. Yep.
Why don't we get into this movie, man?
Okay.
Let's talk about this movie. We're going to talk about 2001's Valentine. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it out there. I believe some of you probably have. I saw this opening weekend. It came out February 2nd of 2001. My wife actually went with me to see it. This was right around the time, as we all know, Scream kicked things off, brought horror back to the mainstream in '96, and then we got Scream 2 the year after. I know he did last summer, Urban Legend, which the director of Urban Legend directed this film. So this film got lumped in with a lot of those referential type movies. And really, this movie was meant to be an old school 80s slasher film. And I don't know if you could pick that up when we watched it or when you rewatched it. There's really not much. My sound's on there. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's on Tubi.
It's on Tubi. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
on Tubi.
Cablasto, he messaged me earlier about it's on Tubi because he wants to rewatch it. Yeah, I have the special edition Blu-ray from Scream Factory. It's not available anymore. I checked on Amazon. You could probably get it on eBay or that, but it's not available on Amazon. You can get the soundtrack though. We'll talk about that a little later.
Oh yeah.
And I liked Urban Legend a lot. I don't know how any of you guys feel about guys and gals feel about that movie out there, but I always liked Urban Legend a lot. So when I read in Fangoria, because I used to get that delivered to the house when it was still around like that, and I saw that he was directing a movie called Valentine. Now this is based on a novel by Tom Savage. I never read the novel, so I don't know how close to the novel it is. I hear just rudimentary like the novel. It's not exactly, but I heard the novel's pretty good too. So I couldn't wait for this film because I love slasher films, as I know you do as well.
Yeah.
But let's get into this a little bit. At the beginning of this film, well, hold on. Let's go on to the cast here a little bit. I wrote some notes down.
This is Brian's wheelhouse. I love Brian. You all obviously subscribe to his channel and watch his reviews, but the details he gives, give it, Brian.
All right,
take the stage.
So this was a lot of up-and-coming actors, a lot of hot actors on TV at the time, or in some hot movies at the time, like the first one, Denise Richards, who was very popular at the time, coming off of Wild Things in '98, Starship Troopers in '97, and she played a nuclear physicist. Yes, I said, I still can't believe they cast her for that, but yes, she played Christmas Jones in The World Is Not Enough, Pierce Brosnan's third James Bond go. I remember when I saw that. I'm sorry. I like Denise Richards, but I laughed my ass off when she got on screen and they said she was a nuclear physicist. But she plays Paige in this film. And, like I said, she was hot at the time. David Boreanaz is in this film as Adam Carr. He is our main lead on the guy side, and he was famous at the time for coming off of Buffy, and he was on Angel at the time.
Yeah.
And Marley Shelton's in this film as Kate, and her and Adam are going out when we meet them as adults. And she was in Bubble Boy. Later on, she was in The Perfect Getaway. You and I were discussing that. She played Chris Helmsworth's wife in that movie.
Yeah,
and then she was in Scream 4 and then Scream 2022. And she's been in a lot of other stuff as well, Planet Terror, stuff like that. Jessica Capshaw plays Dorothy. Yeah, she was in Planet Terror.
The wife, right?
Yeah, yep. She was. Absolutely. Jessica Capshaw plays Dorothy, and then she was on Grey's Anatomy. But she is the stepdaughter of none other than Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Because Steven Spielberg is married to the woman who played Willie in Temple of Doom, and that is her mother. Katherine Heigl is in this film, and she was on Roswell at the time, and she went on to be on Grey's Anatomy and a bunch of movies, and I don't know what she's doing now. I haven't seen her in a long time, but she's in the beginning of this film as Shelley. And Jessica Caulfield, I think I'm saying her name right, plays Lily in this film, and I saw her, and she was also in Urban Legends 2 Final Cut, and she was in Legally Blonde, which I only watched that because my wife wanted to watch it. I wouldn't normally watch a movie like that. It's not really my thing.
The Final Cutting.
And obviously, Katherine Heigl was in Bride of Chucky and one Under Siege 2 with Steven Seagal.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm sure nobody really cares about. But I actually like that movie. It's not the greatest, but whatever. So that's our cast here. And at the beginning of the film, we see a Valentine's Day dance with a bunch of elementary school kids or junior high kids. I don't know.
Yeah, they're probably like 6th grade.
Yeah.
I think 6th grade. Yeah, they bring it up in the movie in 6th grade.
Yeah, and a lot like most 80s style slasher films, somebody has to get picked on. So we have a killer later on in the film, do we not?
Yeah, boy. This is this poor kid. What's his name? Johnny Demento? Johnny Wentworth? JM.
Jeremy Milton.
Jeremy Milton, yeah. This poor kid is just trying to survive in 6th grade, and he's asking, the confidence on this kid to ask not one, not two, 4 women to dance.
And I got to be honest, he has way more confidence than I did when I was in 6th grade.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't ask nobody to dance because I was scared.
This guy is a king. This guy is a king. And at a certain point, he asks Dorothy, who plays, or Jessica Capshaw plays her later in the movie, but he asks Dorothy to dance. He asks Kate to dance. And Kate says, maybe later. I might do it.
She was the nicer one of
after getting pwned
by
twice before that
by Paige and Lily, were the two that really were nasty to him at first.
Paige, as a little bit of a come around, she says, "I'd rather be boiled alive."
Yes, which is foreshadowing for
Piece
later
of
on.
Crap.
Which is an awful thing to say to your classmate. just because you might not want to dance with him. It could have been a little bit more tactful with the decline there. You know what I mean?
So he asks. He goes to number 4, Dorothy. And Dorothy's just like, let's not dance. Let's just go make out under the bleachers.
Yeah,
and
she went right from dancing
heaven.
to go making out, man. That was crazy.
Kids in heaven, man. Like, good for Jeremy. That's like the only thing. It's the only payback you get after getting like denied like that so publicly. But the school bullies find them.
Yep, they see them underneath the bleachers, and they start mocking them. And then Dorothy does a very uncool thing where she says that Jeremy attacked her, and the boys pull Jeremy out and basically strip him down to his underwear and dump a bowl of punch all over him, and everybody's laughing at him, and that's pretty much the start of Valentine.
Yeah, and I mean, and then they strip this kid and they curb stomp him. They like get in this group and they just start stomping on this kid.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Just jackals, man. Just
it's
all over this kid.
This lays the groundwork for, the rest of the we're going to talk about the rest of the movie, obviously, but, this is, like, ripped right from, like, Slaughter High or something of an earlier movie.
Yeah.
Where it's almost, like, straightforward. Like, we know Jeremy Melton is going to be the one coming back to kill everybody because look what everybody did to him. You know what I mean?
It's a lot like Terror Train. What they did to that, well, it's a little bit different what they did to that kid in Terror Train, but they did something awful to him, and when the killing starts later on in the movie, it's like, well, it has to be that kid because he's really messed with him a lot.
Yep.
Hi, Rich from PA.
My
buddy
PA.
Rich. Legally Blonde is the next live event. Yeah, Kablasto, we'll get right on that, buddy. You could join us for that, Kablasto. We'll all go. We'll all talk about Legally Blonde.
Oh God.
And how much we love, what's her name that stars in that?
Yeah.
God. Reese Witherspoon. I should remember that because my wife loves Reese Witherspoon. But and then we jump forward to they're in their early 20s, mid 20s. We catch up with Katherine Heigl's character. Actually, she was one of the ones that turned him down as well in the beginning of the film. But so Shelley's on a date with this immense D-bag, and she is in med school. And this guy is the worst too. I'm like, I felt embarrassed for her. I'm like, Jesus, this guy.
Yeah, this guy is like
talking about himself in the third person, and just a D-bag.
It was so weird. It was like so stereotypically written in a weird way, like over the top.
Yeah, where this guy was just
a monster.
Yeah, this guy's just a complete scumbag, and he acts the part. And the actor, hats off to you, buddy, because you sold me on it that you're a complete scumbag.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she leaves the date and goes to work on her cadaver. And that's when we meet our adult killer. We don't see his face, obviously. He has a mask on. But, he messes with her a little bit. And then we have our stalk and slash scene.
Yeah.
And then finally he finds her in the morgue in a bag. She tries to hide in a body bag.
And the only thing I can mention about this scene is, it's a good scene. It's a good setup for the killer. Catherine gets a Valentine from him.
The creepy Valentine.
But the way the killer is discovered that there's a killer in there is because she's getting ready to cut into the smoothest belly, like the smoothest, hairliest belly.
Either was a guy that got waxed or it was a girl underneath. The sheet.
It was
can't
like
see the face. It's just
Ryan Lochte.
Yeah, it's really very smooth.
This is gorgeous belly.
Yes,
smooth belly.
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up. The director did not want to film that scene. He hated it. The producer made him put it in the scene, in the movie. Yeah, I read an interview with him that was taken about 2 years ago. It was a fairly recent one. I think it was a year or two ago. And he said it was the only time he ever got mad at a producer, and he was furious that he made him put that in. And he said, it was only my second movie, and I couldn't. The producer had a lot of power. I had to do it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I thought it was stupid, and it went against what we originally had scripted. And I never liked it because it didn't make a whole lot of sense that the guy would get on the table, the guy or girl would get on the table and then do that.
Yeah.
And then get back up and get redressed and then stalk her. It's just dumb.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true because the killer is all buttoned up right after that. So he must have been ready to, like, he was just ready and unbuttoned. Like maybe his top two were buttoned like a gang member or something, and like he was just.
I don't know what he did. Yeah, and where did he hide? Yeah, well, in the mask, I guess we should talk about the mask. They show it right in the beginning of the film. It's a Cupid mask, and I
Yeah.
don't know, what are your thoughts on that mask?
It's there's something chilling about it. Like, I gotta say, it was a little kid was wearing it during the school dance, and then it comes up again in services. It never ever sits right with me, and I think that's the best thing you could say about the mask. It always looks like it's, if you just let it sit on screen a little bit longer, it's going to start moving and talking or something. Like, there's something about it that's creepy.
Yeah.
To a good degree, I think. I mean, it's not. I can't even look at it as like cherubic, because when you stare at this thing on the head of a killer, it's something else entirely. It's not cherubic. It's not angelic or Valentine in any way. It's just creepy.
Yeah, it's almost like the mask could be its own thing, almost come alive on its own, because it just looks off.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good mask, and it was different enough from everybody else that's a known slasher film.
I think that's the biggest thing, yeah.
That it set itself apart. I mean, obviously, this movie never got a sequel, but I always liked the mask. I thought it was cool, and something different.
I think the rest of the suit worked. Like, it was a little stylish. Maybe it was of the time of the early 2000s or late 90s, but
it was
like
a long black overcoat.
Yeah, it was like a button-up jobber.
Yeah, it was like one of those pea coats almost, kind of like military-style coat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like black pants, the shoes, and then the butcher knife was his main choice of weapon. If you've ever seen this film, although he uses a few other things throughout the film, we'll get to those as we go. Yeah, I think it's a strong opening, minus that breathing scene on the table, because I like when he goes in. I know Yoli said she loves that too, when she is hiding in the morgue.
Yeah,
and he starts stabbing through all the bodies. Yeah. That is cool to see that, because it's like, well, I'm not going to take a chance. I'm just going to stab every one of these until I get to her, because I know she's here.
And it kind of like, you can tell he's the killer is a little more driven. You know what I mean? Because he's like putting so much force behind these stabs that he's like, he really wants to kill her. He's not trying to freak anybody out. And, maybe like once you get further into the movie, like, this is his chance. Like, he doesn't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
He's going to kill this girl ASAP, and he's going to use all the force he can behind his blows and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
he wants to make sure
anger in those stabs.
If he hits her, he wants it over. Yeah, he wants her to end very quickly.
Yes.
And when he does find her, he ends up slitting her throat. I know we talked about this, that the movie was cut down a little bit, some of the kills. I sent you some of the deleted footage.
Yeah.
There was more blood. But I found something out too, that they already got the R rating, and Warner Brothers and Village Roadshow made the director cut more violence out even after they got the R rating.
And they still kept the R rating.
They kept the R rating. There was still enough violence for the R rating, but they wanted to cut more violence out.
That's interesting, because it is cut. I mean, there's not a ton of
gore.
No.
And he said, I couldn't understand it once we got the R, why they would make me cut more, but they requested that I cut more violence out. He goes, I never understood that, because they knew we were making an 80s slasher film. I told them from the get-go that's what my plan was, and they still messed with me a little bit. But
Hi, Reed and Troy are in here.
Hi, Reed and Troy. Our kids are in here too. Hi, Brandon. Cablasto, Yoli.
And then we get these girls are still friends. They're still back
all
in
these
San
years,
Fran.
Yep.
And they're hanging out, and they're having trouble as they do in their mid-20s. They can't find men, but that's what they want.
Yep.
And they go through this like montage of Kate's looking for love and
speed dating.
And Paige is played by Denise Richards, and Paige is kind of along for the ride, and
she's a flirt, and she's flirting with all the guys, and
there's really something stand out about that, because I don't know if I can give credit to Denise Richards for her like cardboard acting, but it works for her character in this, because she has a confidence to like flirt with these men and know what she wants, but that doesn't mean that like they're getting the wrong signals and they might want to take it a little further. That's not what but like she has this confidence to like stop everybody in their tracks and be like, look, this
isn't going any further than what you think you're getting. You're not
exactly getting. Yeah, but I don't know if that's what it works for her character choice.
Yeah, it does. I could see that. Yeah, definitely. I think she's confident in herself, but she's not going to go where guys would assume she's going to go by the vibe she's giving off.
Watch the
Slander. We're not slandering her. I plan on reviewing Wild Things coming up soon, Brandon. So I'll be praising
Brandon,
her soon.
Like, Denise Richards. Like I was of the age to where when Denise Richards started flaming white hot, like I was obviously there for it. Okay, but looking back, I was watching this, and this is almost like the last of her like ascent. I almost want to say, and that ascent was like 97 to 2001. 97 was like Wild Things.
Yeah. Well, no, 97 was Super Trooper, or not
Starship Troopers, and then
98 was Wild Things.
Things.
'Cause I saw that in the theaters.
But then, like, you had
It was wonderful.
the Bond movie and a couple of the other things. But Valentine is almost like the last of it. She was in like Scary Movie 3 or something after that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she flamed out. She went white hot. She burnt white hot for a couple of years.
And then she was kind of.
And I was
did
there
some
for
TV,
it, Brandon.
I think. But yeah, you're right. I think that was like her last. I don't know.
Like, I wonder what happened. I don't know. I mean, you know, we could pontificate all we want, but Tanny and the T-Rex is, she was. That was the beginning.
Oh, was she? She was in Undercover Brother. Okay, I haven't seen that in forever. I don't remember when that was, Brandon. No, I'd have to look it up. I remember Undercover Brother. I just don't remember Peek to Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Did she ever do? I'm not gonna bring that up. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
You know what though? I actually, even though obviously these girls were awful to Jeremy Milton as a kid, as a friend group though, I think they all work together pretty well. They all have their different personalities. Like Kate is obviously the more down to earth or more easy going kind of out of the group.
Yeah.
But the rest, they all kind of work when they're all together. They all kind of work in their own way.
Right. You can still tell they're like they're still friends all this time for a reason.
Yeah, they've lasted
and
this long.
Yeah, they have like this chemistry on screen for most of it, you know.
Yeah, I think they work well together, and I think the actresses. I mean, Marley Shelton. I've always liked her when she pops up, and I think she's pretty good here as the main final girl. We'll call her because she pretty much is. And as the movie goes along, David Boreanaz's character Adam is her boyfriend, although the reason she's speed dating, just because it will seem weird if we don't mention this, is they're kind of taking a break because he's a drinking problem.
Yeah.
So they established that in the movie. They set that up. And David Boreanaz is good here. He plays like a nice guy,
yeah.
and they're pretty good together. And he's a reporter, I think, a sports reporter. I think that's what he plays in the movie. But he only shows up here and there. Like, he's in and out of the movie. They leave him in and out enough where he doesn't get a ton of screen time, but it's enough to kind of remind you that he's there.
Yeah.
And then they're together.
You know what? I'm glad you bring that up because, and Kurt, I did not want to forget your question if there were boobs in there or not. They're in in one of the art displays. There are a pair of boobs on screen, but not any of our main actresses.
None of the main actors show their boobs.
Yeah, but this Boreanaz thing, Brian, like, and I think this helps reinforce that it is a straight throwback to slasher movie. I mean, this, like, Bones is in this movie, like, when he needs to be in this movie. Like, he had 2 weeks to shoot his scenes, and it is felt because he is there, except when, you know, Cupid's on screen murdering people. Like, it's so weirdly obvious, but not at the same time, because it's good that they established this character as having a rocky relationship with Kate, because that way he's not always going to be in the picture, and he's not going to be sleeping over her house, and he's not going to be like, they're not going to be up each other's butt 24/7.
Yeah, they did a smart thing by establishing why he would not be around all the time, or they wouldn't be together
right.
all the time. They set that conflict up where she knows he has a problem, and they're taking it slow at this moment,
right?
Because she wants to believe that he's going to stay sober and not be that guy that he was. And I think that helps with how the movie unfolds, where you could say, oh, he has to be the killer. He's never around when Cupid's on screen. But there's enough of a doubt in your mind where, okay, but they establish why he may not be around at all at this particular point in time. So
right.
It might not be him. But the other thing is, though, as the movie goes along, he's really the only likable guy in the whole movie. Every other guy's a pig.
Oh yeah, like the
even
art
even
guy.
the cop's kind of a creep.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Because he puts his hand on Paige's thigh, and it's like, dude, you're a cop.
I know, right?
What are you doing, man?
The confidence level.
I know, it's like you just all these guys walking around. All these guys just think they're gonna get laid. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What planet are you on?
He's like cock of the walk. We lost the entire watching audience to Denise Richards at this point. We should have never brought her up. But
I know everybody's going to watch Wild Things now, which I don't blame you. I'm gonna do a rewatch soon too. Yeah, I know she was on 2.5 Men. I remember when she was on there. Well, I think her and Sheen were a couple at the time still when she was on. 2.5 Men.
But yeah, like the thing where maybe he might not be like, I'd like to know, and there's no room for it in this movie, but how long were they together before she decided to take a break, and how bad was his drinking problem? You know what I mean? Like, obviously he has a drinking problem because he spent time in a mental facility and stuff like that. Like, he has real problems that manifest themselves physically into murder, but like, how how long were they together, and how much of a problem could he be? Because, like, the thing with him and Kate, they might be fine together, but there is never, like, any gelling between Adam and the rest of the friends.
No, the only thing they really say is the one, I can't remember which one makes a comment now, that he still looks good. Like, they make a comment how he looks good, though. And that's about it. Like, they don't really get into it too much, other than when they think they know who to kill, or they're trying to track down who the killer is, when they're trying to figure it out, and Kate's like, it can't be Adam. I've known Adam for forever. But
yeah,
I had to bring this up because I thought I didn't catch it probably the first couple times I saw it, but there's one meta part in this movie. I said about how this movie wasn't meta compared to like some of the other films of its time. Mm-hmm. She does say one thing, and I didn't realize it at the time, but she goes, well, he's no angel, but that was a reference to the show. And I didn't know that until I read the interview with the director. He goes, yeah, there was one meta thing in the whole movie, is when she said he's no angel. But
oh, my God.
And I'm like, God, that's perfect, but I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I never watched Angel. I watched Buffy, but I never watched Angel. Did anybody else watch Angel in this chat?
Angel, yeah. Angel,
I remember it was a huge thing, but I never got into it.
I mean, honest to God, even from when I was in my early 20s, I think Angel and Charmed still they come on TNT at like 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. Still, 20 years later, I think Angel and Charmed still come on as reruns. Yoli brings up that they try to pin it on Campbell. Like, they try to make Campbell look like the D-bag, the killer, but he's just like a slimy
he's just somebody trying to get her money.
Yeah.
Because they establish another woman shows up at the party unannounced, trying to get her stuff back.
That was a weird subplot, yeah.
I know, because she's not in the whole movie until that party, and she shows up, causes a scene, and then she gets killed down in the sauna.
I know the amount of improvising that our Cupid had to do at this party, because they show him like dragging out the maid. So he killed Millie the maid. Like, so he was probably getting changed or something, and Millie walks in.
Yeah. So he felt, well, I gotta kill her.
Yeah, he's like, well, then I gotta kill this woman and drag her under the pool table. And
you gotta go, sweetie. Sorry.
And then like this lady shows up who
had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, like Campbell robbed her blind.
Yeah, he took all her money and robbed her. I got it. Going back to the guys being a scumbag, we got to talk about her neighbor, Kate's neighbor, the guy who the killer walks in as he's trying on her pantyhose and her underwear.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm sick, man. I'm sick. And he beats the shit out of him with the iron, which I love that kill.
Yeah.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Kurt. Yeah, I loved Buffy. I used to watch it religiously.
I just watched it. I just watched an episode of Buffy last night. I've never watched one entire episode of Buffy.
I watched every episode of that.
Did you really?
Back in the day. I couldn't tell you much. I remember some episodes, but it's been forever.
I just watched it
Pop
randomly.
Fenton said about Angel's like the ideal version of Buffy for me. He's a big Angel fan, I guess. Is that streaming anywhere? Does anybody know? I'd be interested to know that. I would assume it's a Warner Brothers show, right? So maybe on HBO? I don't know.
I don't know, but I keep watching myself in this video here, and I'm just constantly touching my face like some creep.
I know. I'm trying not to do that.
Greasy fingers.
It's our first time live streaming, folks, so bear with us here if we look a little awkward. Hi, everybody, again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy's trying on her pantyhose, and then Cupid walks in and takes the iron and beats the living shit out of him with the iron, which I think is great. They don't show anything, but it's a cool scene.
Which I think is a cool scene because when I think back on it, it's after Kate talks to Adam and says, this dude is always lingering around. He's always around the elevator. So he went in there purposely to kill him. He wasn't going to kill Kate.
No.
He was going to kill the neighbor for being such a creepo.
Yep, because he knew he was an issue, and he wanted to take care of it for Kate and get rid of him. And he does, for sure.
So he never meant to kill Kate when he busted into her apartment.
No, he wasn't going to harm her. He went in there with a mission, and that was to get rid of the neighbor because he was freaking her out.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be on Hulu. I'll have to check that out. Cablasto, I have Hulu. I'll have to see if it's on there. The other really cool set piece, I think, obviously we'll talk about the ending when we get there, but the art show.
Yeah.
The weird-ass TV art show that I don't get, but I guess some people might dig that. I'm like, although there's some cool music in this movie, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but because the soundtracks, you can still get the soundtrack for like $12 on Amazon, but if you want to buy the CD, I checked it yesterday just to see if it was available.
Nice, yeah.
Because this is when Lily, look at her name quick, that's when she gets dispatched because we find out that the art guy that she's dating is just looking for a threesome, which in a kind of weird setup in the middle of his art maze that he wants to have this threesome with his assistant is like,
I know.
Dude, there's a ton of people here looking at your art. You don't think somebody's not going to, I don't know. The guy was a complete sleazebag.
I know, like this art installation doesn't even matter to him. The fact that he's like, letting his wiener lead him, that's the true art, right?
Yeah.
That's his art installation.
Because he doesn't
wants
even
to
care. He's
some
just
art.
To get this threesome to happen. That's all he cares about. It's like he had this whole elaborate thing going on just to set this up. It's like, boy, man, you have some steel balls on you, son.
Yes, exactly.
But she obviously turns him. Well, she screams at him and then says, "What do you think this is?" And then Cupid shows up to kill her with a bow and arrow, which I do like that scene a lot. I mean,
it's a good. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. Nobody saw anything, but
saw or heard like she wouldn't be found for days.
No, because
until animals started trying to break into that dumpster.
Or whenever the dumpster got emptied, and even then, if it's a truck like comes around here, they won't see it till she go all the way to the dump and not get noticed.
Yeah, exactly. They would be searching through the refuse and the pile of the mountain of trash.
Because all her friends think she's going to L.A. for work. So
yeah, it's exactly. And then the big final scene is this party where Dorothy, everybody's partying at Dorothy's house. This big party. Dorothy, I mean, she is such a character. She is not a happy person. It's almost like a tropey party scene where the host of the party hates everybody.
Yeah.
But because society pressures her into having this party.
And she's rich, so she can afford to have this big bash.
Yeah.
With DJs and light shows and all this stuff going on.
Yeah, it's wild how she's just such an unhappy person. And
well, it's like she never got over. Like she considered herself fat when she was young. When we saw her with Jeremy at the dance, and even though she lost weight and she looks good, she still thinks she's the outsider because she feels like she's the loser of the group.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
She still feels like she's not the prettiest or not even in the ballpark of the other ones. And she's carrying this chip on her shoulder and she can't let it go. Even though she has all the stuff around her and she's wealthy, she lives in this mansion and she has friends, but she just can't let it go.
Yeah, it's almost like it's too real. Like it was a super too real moment. Like these people, people suffer, like you don't know what's going on behind their eyes or what's going on behind their lifestyle. It's a wild to think about, like the pain that this woman is still dealing with because she just can't kind of renegotiate how she fits in society. It's wild.
And it's a weird thing. I guess, people carry things you don't think they would. They get over it because you grow up, you get older, you have, you get a job, all this stuff, and you think, okay, well, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. It's in the past. But some people, it lingers for them. And obviously for her, she couldn't let it go. So
yeah, just
like with Campbell, she was just like kind of showing him off as like, no, I got a guy now and all this stuff, even though he was completely using her because he's a scumbag. But I mean, although he ends up getting dispatched with an axe in the basement as he's trying to light a water heater. But
I like how he says, "Oh, Jesus, I'm on the staff. I'm one of the staff now."
I'm on the staff now. And what does he say when he lights it? He goes, "I think that's worth a Ferrari or something." He says something like that. I'm like, oh my God, dude.
I mean, good for Campbell. When 2001, there's no YouTube. I wouldn't know how to light a pilot on a hot water heater. I would be effed.
I didn't know that's how you did it. Like, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
I remember I had to relight mine when we lived in Massachusetts, and I don't think I did it that way. But I'm like, would you really use matches on a gas?
I
That
know,
seems
right?
dangerous, man, but maybe it's how you do it. I don't know.
I would have to shut off all the gas. I would have to put the box fan in the room for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, because
And then
you
try
blow
again.
up the house.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Blow up your fan. Like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but Dorothy, Dorothy smiles with her teeth a lot. Like
she does.
she can't even close her lips.
Yes.
It's wild.
She has a she does it quite a few times during the film too.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I don't know if it's almost like she's being fake when she smiles.
Yeah. I think it's on purpose.
Like it's not really she's not smiling because she's happy. She's just like, this is what I'm expected to do, so I'm gonna give this half-assed smile that totally looks like I might be Buffalo Bill's daughter, but
yeah.
She's not. But I'm just saying,
She's not.
It's an odd smile, and it's like she's faking her way through life. Like, everybody's laughing, so I'm just gonna put this weird smile on my face. And that's it. But
yeah, and Paige takes somebody. Paige takes that guy up, Brian, the speed dating guy, up to the bedroom, and Paige was willing to,
willing participant,
a willing participant to have some, some fun, but like this Brian dude just took it out into left field, and like the
so obnoxious,
so completely obnoxious. Paige is just like shut it down, like she just everything shut down, and then she poured hot wax on his ween, and
which is hilarious. I love that she stood up for herself. Like, she set him up because he's being a complete douche nozzle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know it's just a movie, but I think to myself when I see stuff like this and guys act like this in movies, I'm like, I would never occur to me to say that to a chick. Ever in my life. No matter what the circumstance, I would never say that to somebody. But this fella's free to do it.
He says, are you going to wax it? You're going to get to waxing it?
Yeah.
What?
I'm like, who says that? Who talks like that?
No, like the confidence you must have with your hands on your hips, and you're like, just
I know he's so certain that she would do it if he said it. And I think the problem is Paige projects like she might be
right, like up for
easy.
Yes, exactly.
That if you just say it, she'll do it.
Right.
And it's like, well,
and I think
read your room, buddy.
Right. And I think that's just like. And that goes back to me talking about her, her acting style, or the way she played the character. Like it's, she played it like that, but that was that was part of her kink. She wanted to act like that. She wanted that Paige to be like that, but on her terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was okay that she projected that, but that's all it was. Like she wasn't, it was just, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think what you mean is if he would have acted normal and not been such obnoxious dick,
exactly,
she probably would have done what he thought might happen.
Right, yeah.
But instead he acted like a complete dick.
Right.
And she's like, okay, well, you want to play games? And she's
know,
strong
right?
enough in her head to say, you know what, I'm gonna set this guy up and I'm gonna teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
And she does. And it's unfortunately right after this, depending on how you feel about her character, when the comment she made in the beginning of the film about I wouldn't dance with you, I'd rather get boiled in water.
Yeah, boiled alive.
Comes back to haunt her, does it not?
Sure does. She goes to flex in the hot tub, which is where I would be. If there were a hot tub anywhere, that's where I would end up. And she's just like chilling out, you know what I mean? She's like decompressing in the hot tub, and along comes Cupid to like trap her in the most sexiest hot tub cover of all time, of a crystal clear hot tub cover.
Yeah, crystal clear plastic hot tub cover. I've never seen one, but it worked.
It worked. It was like, this could have been made special for the movie, for all I know. Probably. It's
and
not.
Yoli just said, yeah, and then also drilled and electrocuted, which is what happens to him because he starts drilling holes down through, and he hits her in the shoulder.
Yeah.
But that's not what kills her because he opens it up and tosses the drill in.
Right.
And El Zappo, you're dead.
El Zappo, yeah. There was one part, like the first hole that he drilled, she's like sticking her lips up to it like she's already out of air. She is like, she's been under there for 2 days and the oxygen is almost gone. She is like sucking on this
I know,
air.
she acts like she's been trapped in a mine for a week and she's on her last gasp. And it's like, he just shut it, man. You don't need oxygen that
like
quickly.
don't panic like that.
I know, it's like I was waiting for the drill to go right down through her head when I first saw the movie, but it doesn't happen that way.
I did not expect the electrocution part. Like I just thought it was going to get a lot more gnarly.
Yeah.
But I mean, still, like he threw the drill in and shocked the hell out of her and killed her. So
yes. And then as we go through the party clears out because the power goes out after this scene because of throwing the drill in the water.
Yeah.
And then we're just down to Kate, Adam, who's drunk because they have a little argument because she finds him drunk. And
I question that scene.
if he's really drunk or not?
Yes.
I think he's acting. He's not really drunk. That's what I always assumed. But
do you think he's trying to save face for not being in the same room as her or being like?
I think it's him setting it up where that's where he's been.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, my wife's trying to sign in. I can't see your screen, no, so I don't know what number you're seeing. Sorry. Looking at my phone, folks. Sorry, I'm getting messaged and I don't know what number.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Somebody's poop out of luck on that one. Yeah, I think he was setting her up, just trying to try to fool her into thinking this is where he's been drinking.
Right.
He hasn't been hanging around or whatever he's been doing, which if you've seen the movie, you know what he's been doing. But
right.
So I think he's acting. He wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
I don't think he was drinking the whole, like, he was sober, stone cold sober. He was just putting a
a
show on.
Yeah, I think what happened is, he's probably just like, well, let me just piss her off. Let me just piss her off now. I can make up for this. But if she gets me killing people, then it's a different story altogether. So I'm going to feign like I've been in here drinking the whole time. And, I'll apologize for that, and I'll be able to make that better. But, I can't get caught murdering people. So that's better than that alternative.
Yeah, and after they have the argument, she walks away from him, and then she's the one who finds the policeman's head in the pond because she hears the cell phone going off.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because we saw that he was coming to the house because he calls them and lets them know that he thinks he's at the party because they thought it was that Brian guy or somebody that was at the party. They thought it was him.
Yeah.
And so the policeman was coming to the house, and then Kate stumbles upon his head in the pond.
Right.
Because she hears
Campbell.
the phone ringing. Yeah, Campbell. She thought it was Campbell.
Yeah.
So he was rushing over there, and then he gets dispatched. We don't see it. It's off screen, but we see his severed head in the pond.
Right.
And then we kind of come into our final minutes of the film. This is when she runs back into the house, and she goes down into the basement. Or no. Is that where she ends up? Or no. Her and Adam end up wrestling because she thinks it's Adam's the killer. And they go down the steps into the pool table room at the bottom of the steps.
Which, I mean, it's kind of brilliant to have that set up and the payoff because Adam, in that instant, Adam is clearly the killer. He is so erratic that he is clearly...
Yeah.
He is not showing remorse for all the people that are dead. He may have even insinuated that he had something to do with it. Like, it was so... Like, he was testing her almost to see, like, how bad she's going to feel when she thinks that Dorothy's the killer. It's absurd how erratic and crazy he's acting.
Yes.
To a great scene in the film. Like, it works in his favor.
Oh, absolutely. And then we get, the killer comes out. Well, she gets a gun, and then they end up back in that room. The killer comes out, and she shoots him, or he shoots her. Does he shoot her? Why am I forgetting now? But they shoot her. They shoot the killer, and they take the mask off. Ends up being Dorothy in the killer getup, into Cupid mask, and the whole outfit.
Right.
And then basically the movie ends with them embracing.
Right. She's like exhausted, passed out on his lap, kind of.
His nose starts bleeding. Well, they show it landing on her cheek.
Yeah.
And the camera pans up. And the blood's coming out of his nose, which they set up in the beginning with Jeremy at the dance when he got made fun of. His nose started bleeding. And that's when the movie ends.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Valentine. Now, that nose bleeding thing, have you ever seen the movie Alone in the Dark with Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau?
No.
It's New Line's first produced horror film back in '82. The one killer is called the Bleeder. It's one of these crazy people. Basically, the story is there's a blackout, and these crazy people escape from their mental institution, and they head right for Dwight Schultz, who was Howling Mad Murdoch on the A-Team, plays their new psychiatrist, and they think, in their minds, because they're nuts, they think he killed their old doctor, so they're going to take revenge when they escape. And the one guy is called the Bleeder, and that's what happens to him. He bleeds out of his nose. Well, Jamie Blank said they got the idea for the nose bleeding from Alone in the Dark.
There you
go. That was pretty cool.
Yoli, just watched 6 to 10 Jack Palance movies, so she may have.
Oh, I did see that. She was going like
this.
Oh, Kablasto, have you watched it, or do you like that movie? You've seen it before.
Yeah.
I knew Yoli just watched a bunch of Jack Palance movies. I saw her going through some of his
Mm-hmm.
westerns and all that, which is cool. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid slasher film. It was a little bit different than the ones that were coming out at the time. Again, I love Scream. I like Scream 2. I even like Scream 3. And I know what you did last summer. The second one you could have fun with, but it's a dumpster fire. But I thought it was like a good attempt to do an old school slasher film, something that hadn't been around in quite some time, because the 90s was kind of a weird decade for horror. There's some everybody perceives the 90s as an awful decade for horror. I don't think it was. I think there's some gems in there, like Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. I think is an unappreciated masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
You had some other really good films. I mean, Hellraiser was still kicking around. Unfortunately, it went to the Weinsteins, and they basically pissed all over it. But there was some good horror films in the 90s, and it doesn't get enough credit for it. But going into the 2000s, I thought this was a nice throwback to something that hadn't been around in a while. It was different enough, but it kind of got lumped in with Scream and that. And I because it had the hip cast. They were all popular from TV and stuff. So I think it just kind of got lumped in with that group of films, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle when it got released that year.
I think you just nailed it. I think the amount of young people that were of the time really, by that alone, probably just stereotyped this movie and lumped it into that. Now, do you know if what they were going for an old type slasher movie, or is that just the way it turned out?
No, Jamie Blank said his goal when he signed on to do it was to make an 80s style slasher film, because he loved those kind of movies, and that was his whole goal. And he told Warner Brothers when he signed on, "This is my goal. This is what I want to do."
Yeah,
and they approved it. So,
well, then it makes me like it even more now, because I think almost, and maybe it's just my assumption of, you look at the cast, you look at David Boreanaz and Denise Richards alone.
Yeah,
I think it just makes you think like it's a Joshua Jackson and like with their Dawson's Creek outfits on, and like just going into that kind of, because it's lumped in. It's 2001, so it's right there.
Yeah, it's not too far removed from those other films. I mean,
yeah, it's
Urban Legend was 98, and then Urban Legend 2 was 2000. So all that stuff, and Scream was still kicking around. I think Scream 3 came out in 2000, so it was all right around that time. Where all these films were hitting the market, and I think it just kind of got lost because I think it was perceived as the same, or maybe people didn't want to go back to the 80s at that point. Now 80s is all the rage, but back then maybe people didn't want to go back to the 80s again.
You know what? I think maybe that's it too, because I think once people got a taste of Scream and everything else started coming out of that,
Night of Olympus.
I think maybe people were just like, what are we getting some of this old 80s slasher stuff for? Like, what is this? But now I think wholeheartedly we're ready to have it in our lives again. But I think maybe at that time, and also, probably the marketings and you got to market the movie, and the fact that you have these beautiful people in it. It's not like you got the
Did you watch the trailer?
No, I didn't.
There was a weird. There's a weird trailer with a girl laying in a field, and she's kind of like plucking like petals off a flower.
Mm-hmm.
About he loves me not, and then shows some footage from the movie. So I remember that trailer when it was released back then. Yes, I'm that old. I remember that clearly.
Yeah.
But it's I don't think the marketing all worked all that well. I think if they would have upplayed I think maybe people weren't ready for an 80s style slasher film, but maybe if they would have played it up more, because they really didn't in the marketing, maybe maybe it would have did a little bit better. I mean, it did come out in February, right before Valentine's Day. I mean, February 2nd, so it had a 12-day head start in the holiday. I don't know. It did make a little bit of money. We didn't talk about it. It had a budget of $10 million, and it made 20 in America and 36 worldwide. Now, if you look online, some sites have it listed as a $30 million budget. And I went back, and that's why I looked for Jamie Blank's some interviews. He's like, the budget was not $30 million. He goes, I don't know where people got that number from. They never would have gave me $30 million for this movie. It was 10. That's what we spent on it.
It doesn't seem like a $30 million movie.
No, if you watch it, if it was cost $30 million, somebody was funneling some money off and going on a long, nice vacation.
Yeah.
Because this movie did not cost 30. And it's nicely shot, but it didn't nowhere near cost $30 million.
Yeah.
And they shot up in Vancouver, so A lot of films went up there to save money.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you had a lower budget if you went to Vancouver. So
The San Francisco of the North.
yes, the San Francisco North. They shot this thing in 42 days, if you want to know that. Again, I know we talked about in the beginning there was cut scenes. They talked briefly back in the mid-2000s about releasing the director's cut. It never happened.
Never
and
happened.
Warner Brothers isn't interested in revisiting it. And I guess Scream Factory couldn't get the footage to put it back in the film, so I don't know if we'll ever see it. But
Yeah, right. That's a problem.
But since it was your first time seeing it, what would you rank this one?
So I got to say, so we watched it on movie night, and by the time we put it in, I mean,
It was the third one tonight. We were
third.
drunk and we were tired.
When we say it's third movie of the night, we are like 10 beers in or more at that point. So,
it's hard to get through.
I'm glad I watched it another time because but after I remember, like, I remember the ending this time, and I remember like Dorothy coming out with the Cupid mask on, and she was probably like, I use a 5-star rating because I use the letterbox. But
Whatever works for you, man.
out of that, I would say it's probably 3.5 out of 5-star movie.
Cool.
Maybe 3.5, somewhere in there.
Cool, man.
But yeah, I because I can, through the whole movie, I'm like, there's no way that Boreanaz is not the killer. Like, it's such a throwback to the 80s, but it's not a bad thing. And also, as when I just brought up the as erratic as Boreanaz is acting in that scene, to have the redemption, to have Kate in his mind, to have Kate see that it's Dorothy that's the killer. Adam Carr could have been as crazy in that scene as he wanted to be, and he still would have ended up with Kate in his arms.
At the end, yes, because she was convinced it was.
Yeah, and I think that was just a brilliant move, I think.
Yeah, he played it well, and the way it ended, I actually liked that it wasn't a happy ending. Like, the killer got away with it, and for all Kate knew, again, like you said, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He might have got drunk that night, but overall, he didn't kill anybody. It was Dorothy killing people. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I can still be with this guy. And really, at the end, the nerd won. He got the girl he wanted.
Yeah.
He got away with it. I mean, we don't see that, but you assume he did.
Yeah, exactly.
He covered his tracks pretty well. So really, it's a Revenge of the Nerd story, and the nerd won at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He got away with it. He wouldn't have did it in the way I would have done it, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I mean, he didn't do it in the nicest of ways, but he did get away with it. And he said they wanted to make a sequel, but it just never. It didn't make enough money, I guess, and Warner Brothers didn't want to go ahead and do a sequel. But
yeah, I just, to think how morbid, not even the sequel, but just, as soon as the camera stops, as soon as the movie ends, like, their relationship is just based on trauma, you know what I mean? Like, she's got deep-seated trauma, and it's probably not going to be the healthiest thing for them to be together. And the one thing I wanted to go back to is David Boreanaz, like, for being the it guy at that time, he's headlining Angel, you know what I mean? He's like top of his game.
yeah, he was
essentially
on top of TV world.
Like, there's not one scene that shows him being violent, angry.
No,
like, you never see him with a Cupid mask in his hand. Like, he gets away with being the bad guy, but there's nothing on screen that could exist to this day where, he was like a piece of crap psycho killer in a movie that could tarnish his image. I know I think he's like a good bad guy, right, in Angel and Buffy and stuff, but never anything to tarnish his image in the eyes of, like, the public.
No,
which I think is a smart move, but I think something in the movie suffers because Boreanaz was clearly only there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it goes back to he's also the only nice guy in the whole movie. Like, everybody else is a scumbag.
Right.
So he's almost too nice. So, and even though you don't see him with the Cupid mask or a knife in his hand or blood on him, nothing, and he's never, except for that when he's drunk, it's the only time he's acting erratic at the end. But then he sets it up perfectly. Yes, because David Boreanaz is the killer in this movie. I assume most of you have seen this film. If not, I recommend seeing it. Because like Dale, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I usually do 1 out of 10, which I'll get to late next week when I release my review for this, my full review.
Yeah.
But he only had 2. Here's a little trivia though. He wanted to wear the mask and the killer costume, but they had he was game to do it. But because he had so little time to film his scenes, they never had enough time to put him in the costume.
Oh shit.
But he was adamant about it. He wanted to be in the killer outfit, but they just couldn't make it work.
Okay.
Of his time frame, and they had him to work.
That makes me feel better. Then it wasn't like David's people weren't letting him.
No,
like
they said.
Wow.
Even Jamie Blanks, the director, said he was game to do it. He wanted to. He was enthusiastic about it, but we'd so little time with him, we just couldn't get it to
that
work.
makes me happy.
So it was cool to know
Makes me
that he
happy.
was willing to do that, because most actors don't play the killer. Even if they are the killer in a movie, they're not actually the ones behind the mask. So.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You know, only in Friday the 13th were the stunt guys actually playing Jason.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And also,
Or Robert Englund, Nightmare on Elm Street.
to get back to the cast as a whole, like you had David Boreanaz and Denise Richards, but otherwise, like the other folks, it was just like, it seems a little like just outside of the comfort zone of your Screams and your I Know What You Did Last Summers. Like, there needs to be another somebody there, and like, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why the film.
Yeah, because Katherine Heigl wasn't who Katherine Heigl was in the 2000s when she got on to Grey's Anatomy, and then she did like The Ugly Truth and some of those other films she was in. So yeah, I could see that. And Jessica Capshaw ended up being on Grey's Anatomy as well for a while. So they really didn't hit yet.
Yeah, they
really,
didn't hit
if you
yet,
thought about
right.
it, only David Boreanaz and really Denise Richards. I mean, Marley Shelton had been around for a little bit, but she hadn't done much
Right.
to that point.
It's not like they were, and maybe I'm just rewriting history from my mind, but you know, like Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle and you know, like Neve Campbell and all that.
Because Neve Campbell. Well, same way with Party of Five, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar was Buffy. You know, when I Know He Did Last Summer came out, Buffy was big at the time. So they all had stuff going on. I mean, Neve Campbell was on Party of Five, so she was ascending.
Yeah.
And then she Wild Things came after the first Scream. That came out in 98. Scream came out in 96. So she hadn't done Wild Things yet. Because I remember that was so provocative. Denise Richards and Neve Campbell in the same movie. Every teenage guy or early 20-something wanted to go see that film because of the way they marketed that film. And it was worth it. Plus, you got Bill Murray, who's always awesome, and he's great in that film as well. And they have Kevin Bacon being a scumbag sleaze cop, and that's good too. But we're not talking about Wild Things. Maybe next time, Kablasta, we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I give it a 3.5. I like this film. I think, obviously, when you talk about Valentine's Day slashers, everybody's going to go to My Bloody Valentine, and rightfully so. That original I like the remake as well, My Bloody Valentine 3D.
Yeah, that's good. That's like a shot-for-shot remake almost, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's
not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. You get that sequence with the chick running around naked for about 5 minutes.
Oh.
At the hotel. But, yeah, it's pretty much it's almost a shot-for-shot remake. They changed some things, but not... It sticks to pretty much to the same plot. Just they switch some stuff around. And then the two Bloody Valentines, and then this one. There's really not much else that I could think of. If you can think of something else that takes place on Valentine's Day, let me know in the chat. Horror-wise, I don't think there is really. I think those are pretty much it. This one kind of gets forgotten about because of My Bloody Valentine is so popular. And for good reason. I love that original that early 80s slasher film. We just said earlier that we rewatch it this week. It's a good one, and I know you have it coming up on Ko-fi on your
my
you had me
Kurt,
at Naked Chick.
Kurt, I know what I'm watching later. You had me at Naked Chick.
Well, I'm glad I could help Kurt. You enjoy that
God
film. It's a good movie though, and it's a good right time of year to watch it. But yeah. Overall, I think I like Jamie Blanks as a director too. I liked Urban Legend, like I said, and I was going to bring up. You know how he got Urban Legend? Because he's from Australia. He actually wanted to direct I Know What You Did Last Summer, and he went and he took some money and directed a trailer based on I Know What You Did Last Summer to try to get that directing job.
Really?
And he sent it to the producers, and they already had hired a director for that film. But some of the same producers were working on Urban Legend. They offered him that, and that's how he got that job.
That's a cool gig.
And since Urban Legend made money, he was able to get Valentine.
Yeah.
But sadly, after this, he went back to Australia. He made a movie called Storm Warning, which I do have on DVD. Let me know if you ever seen that one. It's actually not a bad movie. It's about a couple that get stranded out in the outback during a storm. Storm Warning. They have to fight off these outback people that are trying to, nefarious
do wrong
things. And then he did a movie called Long Weekend, which I've never seen. And mostly he just does producing now and scoring because I guess he likes to score as well. He's a musician, and one of his favorite directors is John Carpenter.
Wow.
And when he got doing horror, he tried to emulate John Carpenter.
Wow.
He's a big fan, but yeah, that's how he got into Hollywood, by directing a trailer for I know he did last summer,
wild.
and they ended up giving him Urban Legend instead because they already hired a director. But
Urban Legend, Urban Legend. So he did Urban Legend this, and then he
went back to Australia. They made 2
Australia.
Australian films, and then now
Yeah.
he's just producing stuff, I guess, down there because I don't think he's been in the States in a while.
I remember going to the theater to see Urban Legend. Like there was 2 or 3 years. There was definitely a hot summer, where the summer of '98. Like I cashed in all my savings bonds that I had that I've been getting as a kid, and I just went to the movies with my girlfriend all the time. So I went to see Urban. I remember going to see Urban Legend. I haven't seen it since that night.
Really?
In the movies. Yeah, I have not.
I like that one. I have
not seen it.
I like the idea that somebody's using urban legends to kill people. I think it's pretty cool. And I saw it with my girlfriend at the time, Urban Legends, and after that opening scene with the guys in the back seat, when you see the great Brad Dourif as the gas station attendant, I remember walking out to the car after the movie and checking my back seat just because it had me thinking, is somebody in my back seat? But
Right.
yeah, I've always liked that film. It's not the best movie, but I've always enjoyed it. I think the cast is pretty solid, and I think Jamie Blanks does a nice job with the directing.
Yeah.
The sequel isn't the greatest, but it does have a cool kill where they recreate wake up in a bathtub full of ice and somebody cut out your kidney. They recreate that in the sequel. And it's the best kill in the whole movie, but it's a pretty cool sequence. But
my God.
But yeah, Valentine 2001. I'm assuming all you guys have seen it out there. I know Rich, you have. I think we've watched it. Yes, Robert Englund's an Urban Legend. He plays a professor. Actually, Jamie Blanks, if you follow him on Twitter, he posted a picture maybe last year of when he worked with Robert. Robert took a picture with him and his children. Because him and Robert really got along really well. And, Robert Englund seems like a nice dude. But we gave you our rating on Valentine. We each gave it 3.5 out of 5. A little housekeeping here. There's some cool horror movies coming up soon. I know we're going to get our tickets tonight for Scream 6.
Yeah.
We're going to book those because it comes out March 10th if you're interested. What other ones coming up are you excited to see? We have Renfield in April. We got Evil Dead Rise coming up. The Exorcist in the fall.
Yeah, you nailed them. My brain is blanking on live.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, Scream is coming out in 3D. I don't know if I want to see that in 3D. I know for some reason I didn't even know they were doing it in 3D, and then all of a sudden, like a week ago, I saw they're having 3D screenings, and I'm like,
that's
why?
wild.
Why would you release a Scream film in 3D?
Yeah,
but I don't want to see it in 3D. I'm fine with just 2D.
yeah, 2D.
But yeah, I'm excited for Scream. I liked last year's Scream, and I'm glad we're getting another one. And from what I understand, they're already talking about the next one, which I figured if this one's successful, they're going to make another one.
Yeah.
Joe Bob's first movie is just starting. Well, thank you.
Oh yeah, guys.
Thank you, Kablasso. If you're going to watch Joe Bob tonight, his first movie is just starting. Kablasso just told us. I posted in Discord. Okay, man. We also have coming up, if you live close to Carolina, because we live in North Carolina, Carolina Fear Fest is coming up Memorial Day weekend, and me and Dale have tickets for it.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been actively posting their guests. And you want to go down a few? I know you were talking about it.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So Barbara Crampton's going to be there.
That's a big one.
Carolina Fear Fest. David Naughton from American Werewolf in London.
And Hot Dog, the movie, which I know is one of your favorites. Yep.
Never heard of it. Dana DiLorenzo from Ash vs. Evil Dead. Dee Wallace is going to be there.
Yep, Dee Wallace is awesome. Yeah, it's cool she's going to be here. I think those are all the big ones right now. They're still announcing guests.
Yeah, they're still rolling them out.
If you're going to come, we will be there. So if you do see us, say hi.
Yeah.
We'll give you a high five. We'll chat some movies. I know Phil from the Spook House podcast is going to be there. We just saw him a couple weeks ago when we were at Friday the 13th Part 6 screening at the Alamo Draft House back in January, which was cool to see that on the big screen. But, yeah, we will be there Memorial Day weekend. Richie should have came down for that one. Because he said about last year he should have came down. But I know he's coming down the end of June to hang out, so he won't be here for that. But, yeah, we will be kicking around. And, again, I'm going to plug this man's podcast. Him and Chuck have a podcast called Bat and Spider. check them out. Go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yeah.
Subscribe to their podcast. Check them out. They have a lot of episodes. What are you up to? Episode
143.
143.
We're coming up on episode 150. We're going to do Ed Wood for that.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's more like a Hollywood movie that we're going to do because it's a special
That's a great movie. You're going to enjoy
anniversary
it.
movie.
If you haven't watched it yet, you're going to enjoy that. I
Yeah.
have it on Blu-ray if you need to borrow it.
I will. I will be borrowing
I
it
love
from
that
Brian.
film. It's a great Tim Burton movie. Johnny Depp's awesome. Martin Landau's great as Bela Lugosi. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But yeah,
Nice.
please subscribe to his podcast. Give him a 5-star review because they damn well deserve it. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I want to give a
Appreciate
shout out to everybody in the chat. Pop Fenton.
Pop, yeah, come to Raleigh.
Yeah, come to Raleigh. Hang out. Brandon, it's always good to chat with you, my friend. Cablasto. Well, you know. No, Cablasto, we love you. Yoli, Kevin, Kurt. I know my sister was in here. Thank you for supporting your brother. I appreciate
Kathy,
that.
Thank you.
Rich, hope you're drinking a beer. I'm sure you are, my friend.
Yoli.
Hope you're doing well out there in the West Coast. We had a blast. Thanks for joining us tonight.
This was fun.
This was really fun. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. We'll pick something else to talk about, obviously.
Yeah.
We have a little studio set up. Dale did a nice job setting up. We're coming from his house because he had some good equipment, and I brought some lighting, and we were able to pull this off. And we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
And I was glad Dale decided to do this with me, come on this journey with me. And I want to do this. I would like to do this once a month, maybe. Maybe we could get together once a month and do this, and maybe Dale will join me again and co-host with me if his agent will allow him. A lot of beer money, I think, I'll have to spend on this. But
it's been an honor, dude. And folks, Brian, I just want to show some love to you. Like, before I met you, you had this YouTube channel, and I think we kind of came together as friends because of our common interests in this kind of stuff. And I love that you love movies, and I love your positivity towards movies, even if it's just like a middling movie in the eyes of the general public. I love that you can find the goodness in all the movies that you do on your YouTube channel, and it's really affecting, and I think it instills the love. I think a lot of people see that, so good job for you, man. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And also to you and Chuck, you guys do a lot of films I've never even seen, or even some of them I haven't even heard of, and I pride myself on knowing a lot, but some of them ones you cover I've never heard or seen.
Yeah.
And you guys, and I know some of them might not be the greatest films on a technical level or whatever, screenwriting level, but you guys are always give them so much positivity in all your discussions on any movie you watch. Yeah. And I got to be honest, sometimes you're more friendly to movies than I would be. Because sometimes I can be a complete prick to movies, depending on how it hits me. I know Yoli and Cablasso have their own podcast, the Spaghetti Freddy Pod.
Yeah.
They're very. There was some Nightmare on Elm Street entries that they were very kind to, and I appreciate that because I was not very kind to when I did my reviews to some of them. But I try to at least pick some positive things out, even if I didn't care for the movie. And I always try to give some information about the movie if I could track some stuff down. I don't know if I'm successful at it. If you guys subscribe, let me know. But I try to,
subscribe. If you guys are watching tonight, just subscribe to his channel. Do it.
Just hit the subscribe and hit the like button. Give us some love. I'd appreciate that. And thanks for joining us tonight. And I know some of you guys are watching Joe Bob at the same time, right, Cablasto? I don't know what he's showing tonight. I don't know what he's showing tonight.
What's the first movie on Joe Bob?
What is the movie?
Join the Bat and Spider Discord in our watch-along channel. We're going to be watching Joe Bob tonight. I'll join in later tonight, and he usually goes to like 2 in the morning. So, but there's folks in there right now talking about the movie as it happens live. So,
Cablasto's checking right now. Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge.
Wow. That's on my list.
You know what? I didn't think that's what he was going to show tonight.
That's weird. Does that have anything?
I really thought he was going to show the original My Bloody Valentine. Well, maybe he will the second one. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't know what he has planned. They never released that ahead of time, right?
Yeah, they never said it ahead of time. I know is somebody getting married tonight on the show? I think they won the Joe Bob auction.
They're in Vegas. Yeah. Somebody's getting married tonight. Yeah, I saw that. Big time
over at Joe Bob HQ.
Yep. Yeah, go head over to Shudder if you have an account, and you can watch them over there. Yeah. I'm not fudging that up, right? It's Shudder, right?
Shudder, yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's on Shudder.
But what? Someone is getting married. Yeah, somebody's getting married tonight. God bless them.
Yeah, I think so, Kev. They do the Christmas charity auctions, and I think somebody raised money to have Joe Bob marry them, or them get married live on Joe Bob or something like that. So.
And Dale just informed me that Joe Bob's coming to Clayton, North Carolina, which is about 45 minutes from where we're sitting right now. And we might have to look into that.
Yeah, might be going down.
He's bringing a show, How Redneck Saved Hollywood, to Clayton. So if it's a night that works, we might have to make that work and see that. I'd be interested in that. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, we're gonna sign off now. But I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we will do this again.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to do this again. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. So yeah, maybe once a month, maybe more frequently. Maybe I'll do some by myself because I know Dale can't get out all the time, and we can't do this all the time. But yeah, thanks a lot, and I hope you've enjoyed this. We try to be as entertaining as we possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, thank you.
But yeah, have a great night out there. Enjoy Joe Bob for you that are partaking in that, and we will see you guys next time. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye for now.